Hey everybody, super excited for you to be here. We have got an awesome testimony for you tonight. I'm really excited. I found this amazing gentleman at a Recovery Warriors event, and I walked in and he was doing this super unique, super fun recovery rap, and I was so impressed, and I was like, I have got to get this guy on my show for everybody to be able to see and hear his testimony. Mike, what's up, everybody? Mike is in. We're in Athens, Georgia, so we are coming from. He's in my hometown. So let's see, Mike. You want to tell? Just give like a quick introduction about yourself, and I'm gonna get this shared out on all my other pages.
Sure. So I'm Mike Moss, person in long-term recovery. What that looks like to me is, wow, 2 years, a little over 2 years since I've felt the need to stick anything in my arm or take a drink. And it has really been an amazing journey.
Awesome. And so if you are in the comments and you know Mike, say what's up in the comments. If you don't, drop where you're watching from. If you're in recovery, give us your dates, your sober dates, and we will get this started. So, Mike, why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on how you kind of like came into your addiction?
Well, I get it honest. Uh, my mom was an addict, and my brother. Um, and I had a pretty sheltered life. I was an emotional train wreck. Very codependent, very needy, lots of acting out, and lots of trouble in the house. Broken home. You know the story. Uh, and kind of my mom's third marriage was when I started having to leave the house more because of bullying at home, for lack of better words, and started exploring different things that I saw some friends doing. It started with inhalants and cigarettes, went on into alcohol, and then from that, of course, weed. And by the time I left Atlanta area, South Metro Atlanta area, and went to Gumlog, uh, up on Lake Hartwell, about age 15 or 16, I was gone. Anything that could take me out of reality, I was in love with. Then I guess it was long about 18, 19 when I met the woman that I would have my children with, and then I also met methamphetamine, and that was all she
Gotcha.
wrote.
Was that through her or through you guys like mutual friends or?
Mutual friends. Yep,
Okay, so it sounds like your first like addiction was to escape.
exactly. Uh, Unless you want to go back further, my first addiction was attention. Anything that would get the attention drawn on me.
Gotcha. Did you have brothers and sisters?
I had an older brother. He was 6 years older than me, very abusive, and kind of set the stage for me in a lot of things, um, including drugs.
Mm. So you got introduced to meth, met this woman, and did you start using meth before or after you had children?
Before.
Okay. So what was that like? Were you like selling? Were you just like recreational? How did it start off?
From word go, uh, anything and everything to get that next fix. So I never was able to be the man with the connections or the man with the killer deal, the man with the sack. I couldn't keep my hand out the cookie jar. Yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't a very good drug dealer either.
no.
Not at all. Mine was pills. That was like my first love, you know. And I would go to the doctor, because we did like doctor shopping back then, and it's like 2006, 7, 8, and it was like I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sell these pills, and then I would end up like having to buy them back for more than what I sold them for. Was like not a good that was not a good trade for me. So you've got a lot of friends on here, you know it. You've
Well, I
got
love every one of them.
so many people in here. Danny Shannon, Lloyd, Travis, Reeves. Mossberg helps a lot of people. That is a fact. Anthony Bones, Larney McCarver.
Larney,
Uh yes. I'm trying to go up. We have more up there. Boston 2%. Okay. So, all right. So, you start on the meth. Now, were you IV using it like at first or
no. And it took a while for me to finally realize that my brother was. And there were times when it wasn't so much the meth that went to pills because I was able to get those through mom. Um, opiates, done the methadone clinic. And crazy as that seems, coming off methadone was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Uh, wouldn't go back for nothing. But then you flip to nowadays, and hey, Matt saves lives. Matt meds,
mm-hmm.
you kidding me? I wouldn't have made it this past 25 months without.
So were you misusing it when you were taking it?
Oh, absolutely. Huh, absolutely. Um, yeah, that turned into a really bad roller coaster until finally, I guess it was after. So I lost my mom and her parents. Those are the three that raised me, had the most hands in raising me. I lost all three of them living out in Cedartown within a year and a half's time. Right after getting out of my first ride down the road, and they all died in the house we were living in. So after mom, the last of the three died, um, I was going to the methadone clinic at that time, and I had started shooting up Roxy's and then meth along with it, and showed up high at the methadone clinic. This is 2011, late 2011. Showed up high at the methadone clinic one day, and they wouldn't give me my dose. So I was like, you know what? Forget this. I hit the road, never looked back, and immediately found a source that was selling this crazy mixture of meth and heroin, and I started banging that, and it was weird because I had this weird fixation. My brother, back in '03, New Year's Day, they found him dead from overdose. Now, he had told me before that he was going to do this intentionally. He was going to go out on his terms with a smile on his face, and he kept his word. And for some reason, what grew inside of me was I want to know what that dragon is like that made him, that it was so important for him to chase his entire adult life and then want to take himself out on it. And it took me a while to finally get to the point to do it. But no, I was an IV user the last 10 years, and then real heavy the last 2 years of my addiction.
And so the meth world is like pretty crazy.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is pretty wild. I get a lot of testimonies from people about the meth world, and it seems like it's almost like a gateway to Satan.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah. So, who is Madeline?
Uh, Maddie, we grew up together. Yeah, she
Okay.
knew my brother.
Yeah. We got Candace on here. Robert, Rick is on here. Rick O'Hare.
Rico, one of my
Yes.
mentors.
Me and Rick were at the Palm House together.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Madeline says, "You're doing great, You're doing so great. Love you.
I love you too.
Um, so, so tell me a little bit about what happened that, because I know you had several, you said 7 times you went to prison?
Yeah, no, 7 years total incarceration, 7 years and
Okay.
change. It was a total of 4 trips down the road, and 5 camps within those 4 trips.
And tell me about the camps.
So the first time was RSAT, and I did a year to the door on a 6 month RSAT sentence. And what's crazy was the officer that was so adamant that I get treatment. And on in GDC's terms, like 2 months after getting me sentenced to RSAT, got caught in South Carolina DUI possession of cocaine. But that was an RSAT sentence to Walker, and the next time was also RSAT, and I did coastal. Um, the third time was I went, of course, to they weren't playing with me anymore, and every time it wasn't the charge that got me sent; it was the violation and termination of probation that got me. So the next time I went to Jackson and then uh, Coweta County camp, and then the last time was Jackson again and Black's Bluff out in Rome.
So, what is it like when you're in these camps?
So I've never been down to the level 5 camps. Coastal was a little rough. Jackson was freaking the most uncomfortable, filthy experience that I've ever had incarcerated. But Coweta was like a daycare. It was pretty much just like a men's retreat, but forced. um, Black's Bluff was flooded with dope. Uh,
Mm.
I mean flooded. I actually, for about 18 months there, quit playing with the dope and started playing with the church band just to give me a different kind of escape. And I did good for about a year until I got out, and then went to a turning point out in Gainesville just to get my feet up under me. No mandate, anything like that. And tried to fill the hole of addiction with a relationship with an amazing woman, but I was not man enough to handle it at the time. So when I walked away with a bottle in hand. And anybody that knows me knows that a shot of liquor is going to turn into a shot of dope, just like that.
So, what was I? Okay, so in this, so these were all in Georgia, correct?
Yes,
Okay, okay. So you've always been in Georgia?
yeah. I spent summers as a kid up in Nashville, but where my dad lived at the time. But yeah, I'm a Georgia boy, tried and true. And though I
And
started down in Atlanta in South Metro or South Side Metro Atlanta, I'm a Gumlog boy at my heart.
okay. And so you said that you played with the church band for a year. Tell me about that. What did you do?
Uh, Playing the guitar and singing, and that's where I started playing bass a little bit for the first time. Music's in my blood, just like addiction. It's in my blood. My uncle was always a musician. My cousin, my brother played with it a good little bit, and I didn't play. I played with guitar some and wrote lots of poetry and songs as a kid. But when I got turned about 16 or 17, uh, I was listening to things like Wu Tang, House of Pain, Cypress Hill, and I'm like, I could do that. I could do that, no problem. So that's where the whole Mossberg name got started, and on up into on up till I was probably late 20s. Uh, I was kind of known around Gumlog for two things: being a complete and total junkie, and being a pretty decent white boy rapper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you were really good. I was like, wow, this guy's so talented. And that's so cool that you're using your talent, to enhance and uplift the recovery community. What's up,
I've got to give every
Haley?
piece of me.
Oh, we got Sarah Corley in the house.
That's Sarah. I love you,
Bobby,
Sarah.
Bobby Cardina says that's my dog.
Hey, Bobby.
Um, so all right, so tell me, so the so this is so mostly you're through like meth, right? Like meth is your drug of choice at this point.
Yes. And even when I turned to the needle, pills kind of fizzled out once I started shooting meth. And like I say, it started with the meth heroin mix, but then it was just when I moved away from West Georgia, but came back to Northeast Georgia, I, heroin was unheard of to me. There's some folks were getting it, but I didn't know it, and that's probably the creator's doing right there because I would have taken myself out a lot sooner. So for the most part of that 10 years shooting up, it was pretty much just meth. Uh, I started shooting heroin and meth speedballs more and more over the last 2 years of my addiction, on up into January of 22.
So was it just like crazy like being in that time? I mean, you know, like what was that like?
It was my normal. Um, I always found myself living with the connection. Uh, Either on the couch, couch surfing, or in the shed behind the place playing watchdog, for the paranoid that don't want all their lawnmowers and broke down four-wheelers stolen. And, you know, uh, it was like a weird dream. And I don't know, it's almost like it wasn't real, but it was
Mhm.
my normal. There was no downtime. I was either asleep or laying around miserable wishing I was asleep, or I was high and 100 mile an hour.
Right, right. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And the whole thing with the plug. I mean, except mine was like I was always with the drug dealer because if you had drugs in my pocket, like that was my boyfriend, like whoever it was, Oh, you have drugs, you're my boyfriend, I'm staying with you. And that was so I can relate to always like staying wherever the plug is. And that was just, how I survived back then. And I feel like that whole realm, like that whole like meth realm is just like so demonic, like it is just full of just like evil and darkness. It's so scary. Like I can't imagine like myself today living in that world. Like I would be terrified, but it was so normal to me back then, like you were saying, you know what I mean? That was just normal. It was just like how it was. Um, so what was the turning point
The turning point into
into
recovery.
yes, doing something different? Yeah, like what happened?
Um, so a very good friend of mine, and then two other people. I was couch surfing up in Livonia. Um, the place where I was staying, the guy, the plug that I was staying with, and I had a falling out, so I was back on the streets. And that was one of those all the eggs in one basket situations. The best friend, the job, the place to live, the transportation, all kaput over that argument. And in hindsight, it doesn't matter that we were both high. I don't blame them at all. You wear out your welcome after a time. Even if you're bringing something to the table, it's never enough. So, and then when you go, you burn those bridges like they're made of matches. So I was back out on the streets, couch surfing in Livonia, and running with the last little crew that I ever would in that realm. Uh, and a couple of people had told me, look, you got value. and we're all sitting around high, and they're telling me, this shouldn't be you. Even in this side of things, you're always trying to help other people, always putting yourself out um, for others. Why don't you help yourself so that you can help others? And and over a few days, I got that from two people, and then finally the third one hit. And this was someone that I'd known since a teenager, and had even had romantic relationships with at times. Star, and she was in recovery down here in ARC, and she was like, you know, you need to come on down here and do this recovery thing with me. And I thought long and hard about it, and I think after a bad, I think after a bad trip one night, I was just, you know what, she's right. So one of the guys that I grew up with, who is a rock star in his own here in Athens, Edmund Patterson, I called him up, and of course he knew me well enough to know that there was a very good likelihood that I was not serious about this. I have commitment issues, and I tried recovery before and just walked away when it didn't go the way I wanted it to. There wasn't no trying to convince Edmund. What it boiled down to, I think he got off the phone and asked my brother Mickey uh, if he thought I was ready. And Mickey told him he was when we were locked up. Who isn't when you're locked up? So the next phone call, Edmund said, "I'll tell you what. Next couple of weeks, give me a call every day. Check in. Let me know you're still alive, still breathing, and we'll get you a bed as soon as one comes open." So of course, I'm sitting around with the guys in the apartment over in Ridgewood up in Livonia, and I said, "You guys, I'm going to rehab. Let's go ahead and work one up, one for the road." Famous last words, one for the road. Uh, so all I remember was that rush and shutting my eyes and smiling, smiling and shutting my eyes. And wasn't no bright light at the end of any tunnel. Wasn't no encounter with uh, some celestial being or the creator or anything of that nature. The next thing I know, I'm coming to sitting down in a bathtub, one shoe missing, cold water shooting down on me, and the guy with the dope sitting over here to my left, uh, squalling, crying his eyes out. And I looked up and I'm like, "What the hell happened?" And his response was, "Look, I've seen people overdose before. I've never been through anything like that." So I asked him to explain what the hell he was talking about. Of course, after I came to my senses enough to even know who the hell I was sitting there in that tub, uh, the first hit of Narcan didn't take. I wasn't breathing. My lips were blue. I was pale as a ghost, and they had to do the chest compressions. And apparently, I hit that gasp right as they were about to give up, and then they had to fight me, fight me into the tub, I guess. And I don't remember, of course, any of that. All I remember was uh, the very first thing after hearing that, and I'm getting out of the tub, I'm drying off. I'm thinking to myself, I'm supposed to be going to rehab, and it hit me. My brother dead from overdose. My mom dead from overdose. I literally just died from overdose, but I'm still here. Something's up with this.
Mm, mm, mm. That is, man, it was like you had like a generational spirit of death following you.
Well, I had prayed for it for long enough. I guess my Abba up there finally gave me a little taste of what I wanted.
Yes, golly, but he still had his hand on you. And it was like you were, you're kind of being a little bit of like a Jonah spirit, like you're being like a Jonah, in the story in the Bible where like he's like running from his call from out of his life on from God. And God like takes him in the belly of the whale and then spits him back out, like in the same place. Like, here, try again.
Right.
Redo. Start
Yep.
over.
So I called Evan back, and I'm like, "Hey man, I know you said call you every day for so long, but can we pump the gas on this?" And of course, Evan's like, "What's your hurry?" And I said, "Well, I died last night."
Mm.
And I think the next, maybe a little chitter chatter back and forth between us. He said, "Well, what you doing Saturday?" Saturday was January 22nd, and I climbed in the car with Evan with I think a $200 Western Union from my old man, and a couple of suitcases of clothes, and I was gone.
And that was the day that you went into treatment or sober
Modern
living.
Pathways to Recovery, Sober Living for Men,
Yep.
the place
Yep.
that changed my life.
And that was you said January 22nd.
22.
Wow. Wow. Um Man, that is wild. So, what was it like when you first got there, like your first couple days? What did that feel like?
I was a deer in the headlights. I was scared to death. I had a little backup. Right before I left Livonia, I bought, I don't know what made me think that I was going to be able to wean down off of 2 years worth of shooting heroin with my meth with three little strips of Suboxone, but I was going to give it a shot. Um, and so it's weird because the second day I was in recovery was over. We were here in Athens over at Nellie B at an event that Edmund and Shane and Riley Kirkpatrick and then John Morris were all throwing this thing together. So it was like an overdose prevention event where everybody was speaking. Of course, this was all brand new to me. I'd never been to any recovery event like this. We're out on the block over at Nellie B serving hot dogs and hamburgers to the community, and they're up behind the mic talking about overdose prevention. And I'm hearing people say I'm so and so person long term recovery, and what that means to me is, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, what am I in? And the Suboxone, I'm trying to stretch it as far as I can, so it's barely working. And I just remember crying my eyes out. This was my second day in recovery, so this was January 23rd, 2022. I'm standing in Nellie B, and I'm crying my eyes out listening to what these people are saying because the people that they're up there describing, of course, is themselves, but they're describing me. And it was just surreal. It was crazy. And just to kind of jump ahead a little bit with the Suboxone, the reason I brought that up, uh, it's also the reason why I was introduced to the place I work now, Advantage Behavior Health. So not too long after I got there, it was maybe a week or two. One of the residents messed around and dropped an empty bag of some dope and didn't fess up, so they tested the whole house. And I'm like, I'm safe. They got to test specifically for anything like that. I remember that back from the clinic days, and they did test specifically for it. It was in their cups. So I hit positive for the Suboxone and was given the ultimatum: get on meds and or go back to my old life. So very quickly, I was back in the throes of, or I was entering the throes of medical assisted treatment, and that was through Advanced Behavioral Health Proud program, a group of rock stars, unbelievable.
Yep. I'm huge huge fan of them. They do amazing things. I mean, everybody. Oh goodness. So good. So good. I'm just like so grateful. I remember I did a video I did a couple videos with Edmund and a couple videos with Shane, and then I did one specifically when they were opening this Modern Pathways. And to think like, wow, like your life got saved because of that, because they were like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna open this center, you know what I mean? It's just, wow, that is just so incredible. And then thank God for Narcan and for your dealer like actually having that on. I mean, wow. I carry a bag of it in my car. Um and it's just like, wow. I got a shirt, and Riley, to X's point, I got a shirt that I love from them, and it says "Miracle on Naloxone Street," and that is you. Like, wow, what a miracle! I mean, that is just crazy. Um, what happened? So, you go through Proud program, and then what was that like after?
Well, so the work thing was kind of something that carried over from my old life. I never really held down a job very well, but again, and now I'm in recovery. I'm still not staying at a job very long. But it's not because of screwing up like the old days. It's just for some reason the universe decided to start throwing me bones. I started it with Staff Zone, and I'm a big advocate for Staff Zone. These guys, first and foremost, you walk in and tell them you're from Modern Pathways, you're getting a ticket, you're going to work. But outside of that, the whole idea to me to be able to go in, work, get paid at the end of the day, and still get off work early enough to go find a full time job is amazing to me. So I started with that, then wound up going to Benson's Bakery long enough to get hurt on the job. Got hired on at Telenet. I did that for like 9 or 10 months maybe, and it was draining me. It was a crazy, horrible experience. I did get to meet some amazing people. At that time, I worked with Paula Thornton, uh, who now runs Divergent. So I love this community up here because you keep bumping into the same people over and over,
Hmm.
and every time it's like, hey, everybody's up more and more. Um,
Yeah, always doing something. It's such a creative collective here. I
it,
love Athens. It is just amazing. I just feel like it's such like a motivated, like creative group of people, and everybody's intertwined somehow. It's super cool. All the connections that you make. We've got some more. We got some more of your fans on here. Um, Jolie.
Jolie,
So proud for you. Amanda Phillips says hi. Anthony Bones, this is what real recovery looks like, and you have worked your booty off to get here to this point. Amanda Chastain, you're an inspiration. Keep what you're doing.
love you
Robert
back.
says, I don't know you, but I'm proud of you. Um, Lisa, Coker Lisa, Michael, your children's and grandkids need you here and your friends. Uh, More from Anthony Bones, Nick Reinhardt, Sarah Corley, Haley. What's up, Haley? Man, so this is amazing. So you're talking about like not being able to get like a job, like a steady job, right?
Well, no,
So
it's oh my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt.
like when did that like what also let's let people who don't know you, what is your pathway? Like,
Pat, what is my
are you do you do like meetings, do you do church, do you do fitness, like
oh
what is your pathway?
so as it turns out, for the most part, work. Work is my pathway. My foundation is built on Narcotics Anonymous.
Okay.
Um, but just to carry on with what we were talking about a minute ago, the job chain. So, like I say, it was never that I wasn't able to hold the job. I could have stayed at Benson's. I could have stayed at Telenet. I wound up because it was draining me getting a job through someone I met in the rooms. Lindsay got me on an imaging healthcare specialist, more telecommunications until, and at this time, all this time, I'm in the Proud program. Uh, and then a job opportunity came open at Advantage, and I didn't wasn't ever even thinking about applying for Advantage. Uh, the old friend that I had left Turning Point over knew somebody that worked here, knew Bambi that worked here at Outreach, tagged me in one of her posts about the job opening, and I said, why not? So I applied for it, and there was no looking back. That was back in May of last year. I got didn't get the job I applied for with Outreach, um, but I did get hired on for the day center lobby here at the Homeless Day Service Center, and that is my pathway. Getting up, going to work, going home to the sober living, the trainings, the connections, the events, being involved, being connected. That's my pathway.
Yes, that is huge. Service. I always tell people service work is my love language. So that is like how that's what I do. Just like serve, stay in the middle, stay connected. So important. We've got Mickey Ray Richardson.
That's my man. That's my brother right there.
Uh-huh. And Hillary Eccles. And and Bambi was on here in the beginning. She had commented. I'm assuming that's the only Bambi that there's. I
Yeah, I
don't
would
really
think.
know a lot of
Yeah,
Bambis though.
Bambi and
uh,
Hillary are two of my biggest sources of support ever since I started at Advantage.
and so, how long have you been there?
Since May 15th last year, and it has become my passion. Uh, back on January 23rd of 2022, it became apparent to me that the reason I woke up in that bathtub was that there was a purpose for me. Um, I don't come from a line of people who die of overdose to die of overdose and still be here and it not be for some reason. So May 15th of last year, I found that reason, and I'd work 7 days a week if I could, and everybody that cares about me would probably want to beat me half to death over it, but it's what I love.
That is awesome. Yes, definitely when you find your passion, your purpose, your love language in recovery, like that just everything starts to come together. You're all of a sudden, clearly, this was the will of God for you to serve and pull other people, out of the fire and be a person of encouragement. Um Jamie Samantha Certain is on here.
Grew up with them, good people. Love you back,
So
Mickey.
there we go. Um, so tell us a little bit about your songs.
Which one? So Mickey
So
is it's Mickey's fault that I'm doing this music thing. When I'm doing music for me, I pick the acoustic up and I like to sing and I like to think I can sing. Mickey would like to tell me otherwise, but when I'm doing music, but because I do have some history working in the studio, doing live shows back from when I was in my addiction. Um, when I do music for the crowd, then I want to give the crowd what the crowd wants. And though I love music in all forms and formats, all genres, all styles, there's my cousin Lauren. I love you too, cuzzo. Uh, when I'm on stage, then what the crowd wants is the rap. So that's what I do. Um, and immediately, I was wondering how I was going to start doing it because Mickey introduced me to Ricky Davis at a Palm House fundraiser. Um, and before the day was out, I was already borrowing another musician's acoustic and first singing and playing some music that I wrote, and then playing and rapping to it. And that's what got Ricky's attention. And before I pulled out of the parking lot, he was like, "I got to get you in the studio." So he hooked me up with Alex Shockley and Beef Studios and paid for some time. I went down and recorded two songs that were just remakes of some stuff from back in the day, music that I had written way back, but had evolved with me. Um, for rap to go from someone else's beat in the studio to me playing guitar and doing it live, it's an evolution, and it's also anything that I do from back then is stuff that I wrote in moments of clarity and are very very special to me. So I wrote rewrote two songs in that format. The morning after, which I talk a little bit about my brother in that one, and then High Time, which is just kind of like a soul shine type song. But I was messing around one day with some beats. My daughter turned me on to this app where I could record myself to the beats on my phone. And I was at Imaging Healthcare one day at lunch, and I was messing around with some beats, and I was like, if I'm going to be, if Ricky had been telling me, he was like, "You need to get some new stuff out. We need to get you on stage, get you going. We got some events coming up. I know I can count on you." And I'm like, hell yeah. So I said, why not just incorporate the recovery into it? And lo and behold, um, I wrote a couple. I wrote a couple, but the first one that really took notice of everybody was "Call Your Sponsor." And that's basically, I had just gotten a text from somebody telling me that that I'm fake, not real, a sellout for switching over to the clean life and what have you, and uh, you're basically just abandon everybody back home in their addictions and look, on a real note, there comes a time where if I can't do anything for me, there's nothing I can do for anybody else. So I have to step away and get myself right. So the song I wrote anyway was, I was really ticked off at whoever this was. I still to this day don't know who it was because I just blocked them and went
It's
back to
the
the beat I
devil.
was messing with, and "Call Your Sponsor" was born.
Can you give us
It's
a sample here while we got, is this your son right here?
that is my son. That's my oldest one. He's
Uh-huh.
getting married soon. Love you too, Tuck.
So what do you think? Putting you on the spot. Can you let the rest of the community who hasn't heard it hear just a little verse? You don't have to.
Put me on the spot. Uh, well, I was born under a bad sign with a fine line between love and hate, designed by a divine weight, chaos and fate. Shunned by the great gray race, outcasted by a plastic world where can't get past this crazy Caucasian. It's a ghastly rapture, surrounded by chumps. Confounded when they found a white man he can bump. I've taken my lumps, stopped at the door by cold doubt. Jaws hit the floor when suckers heard what my life strife's about. Dark clouds swarm me, forever storming. Seems the story was written before me with no warning. So I hit the street with flat feet like a dead man walking. Mic after endless mic, despite dead man talking, steady stalking his dream, preaching to fiends, not what it seems. By all means, deem me all things obscene, but I seem to have to see what else lies in store. It's a gory rattle. Let me babble till there's no more gore for sure.
Thank you.
Now I'm
Thank you.
embarrassed.
Thank you. I put your call your sponsor out on a reel already, so
Yeah, that's more of a crowd interactive song right there.
yeah. So I've
Yeah.
I've already introduced you to my page of 104,000 people, so you don't have to be embarrassed. Well, that is super cool and a super full service, full circle, like a full circle thing. I remember you did a small piece at the Palm House fundraiser. I threw that fundraiser.
Okay.
Yeah, so I remember you.
Oh, really? That was actually a piece from one of those songs that I had done that day.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, that is so cool. Full circle moment, full circle moment. I was like, oh, we have met. How awesome. Wow. All right, let's talk about let me get you to give some advice. What do you want to say to your people out there? Maybe your people who are angry at you, maybe your people who are happy for you, who are still out in that world. What do you want to say to somebody who's out there still in that world?
When you've got nothing left, nothing in this world left, phone a friend. There is always hope. If you're breathing, there is always hope. And there's always a reason you're still breathing. You may not have that purpose locked in your sights, but someone else does. And I swear to God, if Mossberg can do it, anybody can. Matter of fact, if you want recovery, call me.
Powerful, powerful, powerful message. Fantastic. Um, you had
Love you too, Jamie.
destiny live in you, brother. That is awesome. You are quite the popular man.
Yeah, well, it wasn't so much like that back in the day. It was the opposite. But
Right, right. Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing everything that you're doing. Do you have any kind of like page that you put your music on where people can follow you or people can find you?
not yet. Still trying to get to the point where I can afford to pay for licensing for more than just a couple of beats. I got the licensing for Call Your Sponsor and Step 13. Next one's going to be Bad Medicine, and I've got a few others in pocket going to be coming soon. And I'd like to go into the studio and give them a proper recording. But not in my time. If there's one thing I've learned in the past 25 months, it's patience.
Yeah. Recovery will teach you that for sure. For sure, for sure. I am going to end this stream. Don't click the leave the studio thing yet though, okay? All right,
Okay.
thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Jamie Tall on YouTube and follow this page, support recovery, and we will see you next time. Yes, yes, equip yourself. Narcan. There's no reason not to have it. You can get it in the mail, you can get it anywhere. If you don't know where to get it, message me, reach out to this guy. We will get you hooked up for sure.